Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I am sharing the Stamp Market's May release. There are so many incredible stamps and dies in this release. This release is jam-packed with some incredible stamps and dies, including everything from mini Slimline dies to cover plate dies to stamps and dies that are great for Father's Day and beyond, and even layering flowers that are so simple, they're just 2 steps. So let's just dive right in. I'm going to share each product as I create a card with it. Starting with Fintastic, you get a fish that you can color in and outline or layer with the other stamps to create a full color or patterns on top as well. These are the Sardine Dies, comes with a fish die as well as a bunch of dies to make a cute can to put the fish in. And you can use this along with the Sardine Greetings stamp set. You can see there's like a little barcode there that will show you how to use that on a label for the can, but there's all kinds of different sentiments like so stinking awesome, well that stinks, and you can get the dies to cut those out as well. This can all be combined with the You Are the Best Dad stamp set and matching dies. So I used sea glass ink to stamp the fish, and that was the colored in fish. And now I'm using one of the pattern stamps to stamp a pattern on his body, and I'm going to use Island ink on top of that. So these fish can look so many different ways. There's stripes, little scallops, little grid lines. You can add a little tail in a whole color, or there is an outline tail as well that you could color in. So depending on whether you want to do Copic coloring or watercoloring of this outline fish, or you want to do layered stamping, there are all those options in one stamp set. And the Stamp Market does this a lot with their stamps, and I think it's brilliant because this way, no matter what your coloring preference is, there's a way to use the stamp set, or depending on what your preference is that day when you're crafting. Sometimes you feel like doing lots of intense techniques with watercolors. Sometimes you just feel like doing some quick stamp layering. So I am stamp layering 3 different fish of different colors, and I used a different pattern on each one. I added a little fin to the top one on its body, and the other ones I did not. For all of them, I did add the little outline die for its eye. I'm going to use the die to cut them all out. You could just use them as is and put a little "You're Pretty Fantastic" right on the card and create that card. But I'm going to show you how to use the Sardine dies. This little cute die actually cuts out a little scarf to go around, a little necktie to go around the little sardine's neck. You can cut out a fin. There are hearts. There's a high die. These are the dies that I'm going to use to cut out with the diamond glitter cardstock, and then I'm going to stamp my label. See that little rectangle at the top, that little white rectangle? That cuts out a stitched label for my can. I'm going to stamp my sentiment that says "Preserved with Love" and the little barcode in navy ink. So all of this is blues and greens. Just really love that combination. And then there's a little line that you can put in between the two. So it's a very unique set. There are 2 different dies for the sardine can. The base is what you see there, that's glitter. I am building up the lip around that sardine can with 2 pieces of white cardstock. There's a die that cuts out this thin frame that goes all around the base die there. So now I'm going to add my glitter on top, and you can see it's got lots of dimension with just those 3 pieces of cardstock layered on top of each other. Here is the little necktie that I was talking about. I put that on one, and I die cut a little fin for one. So they all look a little different and unique, which is really fun because every time you use these stamps and dies, you can make them look different. On the Stamp Market's Instagram feed, you can see they used some corals and pinks to create a card. So there's just so many ways to use these sets together, and that's what I really like. When you're filling your can, you can fit 3 fish as long as you have 2 heads going one way and 1 head going the other way. This little piece is where the can has been rolled back halfway so we can see some of the little fish sticking out. Here's my label that I'm going to adhere to that open piece of the can there. And then this is a little heart that fits right in between the little fins of the tail. This piece is that roller, that metal roller that rolls the can open. So I'm just going to glue that right on top. And now I'm going to combine it with the dad stamps and dies. So I stamped the dad. I'm going to cut that out as well. And I am going to use the You're Pretty Fintastic from the Fintastic Stamp set right on an A2 piece of white cardstock. Love that font. I think it's so cute. And then I'm going to pop up the dad die cut that I cut out of the stamped dad. So it says dad, then we have our little can of sardines, and then it says You're Pretty Fintastic. So I think this is such a fun and unique way to send either a Father's Day card or just any time of the year that you want to send your dad a card that just tells him that he's pretty awesome. I did add one more little heart right next to the sentiment there just because I had already die cut it and I wanted to use it up. So this again would be great for Father's Day, but the set can also be used for lots of different cards. The next sets that I want to show you include the mini Slimline dies. You can see that the largest die is 6 by 3 inches and it's a scalloped edge. Then inside you have a straight edge rectangle, and then there are several stitched rectangles that can cut out all of the sentiments of the next stamp set that I'm going to show you, which is the Mini Somethings stamp set. So there are those layering flowers. You can cut them out with the Mini Somethings dies, and there are sentiments. These are the Bitty Botanicals dies. These are perfect for mini slimline cards. They're very delicate and tiny, and they work beautifully on a mini slimline. So this particular sentiment that came in the Little Somethings stamp set is perfect for a vertical mini slimline card. I'm going to stamp it with the Stamp Market ink, and then I am going to use some liquid adhesive to adhere it down to a piece of the glitter cardstock that I die cut with that scalloped edge. So you can see that you can really get a lot of shine with that diamond glitter cardstock. And then I cut the Bitty Botanicals out of 5 different colors of cardstock actually. This last one, I only had one of the little orange Bitty Botanicals, so I decided to cut it in half. And it just makes a really sweet and simple mini slimline card. For the next one, I did want to show you the other sentiments from that stamp set, and they are perfect for a horizontal mini slimline card. So I also wanted to share the little flowers that were in that stamp set, and instead of stamping them in black ink and filling them in with a color of ink, I've decided to stamp them in 2 different colors. So the outline I'm stamping in a darker color, and then I'm filling in with a lighter color, and I really like the way that looks. It's just different and unique and just fun, and having that option with the outline and the layer is just really, really fun to play around with. Of course, you could stamp the outline in black and then watercolor or Copic marker color, however you want to do it. I really like playing around with those inks and really layering different colors. I'm going to use the dies to cut all these little teeny tiny pieces out. I did cut a white scallop and then a rectangle from white cardstock as well. I'm going to use a little bit of liquid adhesive behind this thanks that I did die cut as well because it is so thin, but it's not thin enough that I have to use like a thin double-sided adhesive sheet. So it's perfect for the liquid adhesive. I did also die cut some of the Bitty Botanicals out of the diamond glitter cardstock, and then I did die cut out all those little flowers and leaves. So I am just going to create a little floral cluster here, and I love these colors and the silver on the white on white mini slimline with that really pretty script thanks sentiment. So I'm combining some adhesive with some foam adhesive as well to pop a few of those up. And then last but not least, of course, some clear enamel dots always do the trick to add a little bit of dimension and shine to an otherwise pretty simple and white card. There are 2 cover dies this month. This is the tiny tile cover die. It cuts an A2 size card with this lace pattern inside. It looks like eyelet lace to me. So pretty. You could definitely put it on top of white cardstock or colorful cardstock. This time I am putting some liquid adhesive just in most of the areas. It doesn't take too long, but make sure you get the corners and the edges and then a few spots in the center as well, because I'm going to adhere it down to an A2 piece of diamond glitter cardstock. I love the way that the glitter shines in the openings of the eyelet lace. And of course, this is the easiest way to adhere a piece of cardstock down to a really glittery piece of cardstock as well. These are the scalloped circle frame dies. You can see that they cut a stitched circle with the scallop on the inside. That was the Happiest Hi and Hello stamp set, and these are the dies. So you can see that the stamp set can be used to stamp or heat emboss, and then you can cut out the shadow. Or you can cut out the thin sentiment and then cut out the shadow. So the thin dies are not meant to be used with the stamp. You can use the stamp with the shadow or the thin dies with the shadow. And for this card, I used the thin dies with the shadow. You can see next to me, I have a gold heat embossed hello that I stamped in heat embossed and then cut out with the shadow. So I used some black foam squares to pop up that scalloped circle, and now I am popping up the hello as well, and then I'm going to use some liquid adhesive on these leaves. You'll see these later in the video, but I just loved these leaves just cut out just as they are. There's no stamping to them. I just cut them out of green cardstock so that I could put them around this hello, and just the combination of the lace with the diamond glitter and then the navy scalloped circle with the teal hello and the little green leaves. This card just makes me so happy. The other cover panel die is the curved cover die. It is basically could be used for rainbows, could be used for stripes. I know some people like to keep all their pieces together. Usually that doesn't bother me, but one way you can do that is to use some purple tape on top of the die, not underneath where you're cutting, but on top. And you can use this tape several times before it really starts to fall apart. Here I'm struggling with it a little bit, but you can see that I cut several colors already. And so this is just a way to make sure that your arcs are in the order that they're supposed to be to make it easier to do what we're going to do right now, which is die cut inlay. I'm just using tape runner behind these pieces, and I decided I was going to do a straight up rainbow, and I just decided I liked the pinks with the light blue, and so I just stuck to those 3 colors. So there's lots you can do with this die that is not just straight rainbows, and I really just like how thick the curves are. It just has a unique look to it. And with these colors, it kind of, I don't know, it just reminded me of like a cartoon background or like maybe an 80s look or something like that. It's just a lot of fun to create on. I used the Simply Script Note layering die to cut out the shadow that says just a note. You can see the stamp set at the top there. For the inner piece, I decided to use Easy Cut adhesive because it is very fine and thin and lots of flourishes. So peel back the top protective layer of the double-sided adhesive sheet, line up your cardstock. I'm using a piece of A2 white cardstock here. So I'm lining it up on the edges and in the corner and then pressing it down. Then put the protective sheet back and trim around the sides so that you don't have anything that's going to gum up your die cutting machine. Once that's done, you can get rid of the protective sheet and put your die with the cutting side down on the cardstock. And then once it die cuts, it has adhesive on the back, so it's like a little sticker. So the other great thing about the Stamp Market dies is that the J for just is separate from the rest of the word. The reason that is so key is because there's all that beautiful flourish to the J, and it's the same thing with the N from note. That beautiful flourish is the hardest part to line up. So if you can line that up separately from the rest of the word, it just makes it so much easier. I can't even begin to tell you. So I love this. I love how it looks too. It looks like it was actually handwritten that way. I did add some white enamel dots this time, just for some fun accents around this. This is one of those clean and simple cards that really just has my heart. I know it doesn't look like much, but for me, it just has such a nice impact. Okay, here's the Cherry Blossom stamp set. This is a 5x6 stamp set. You have the outline image, and then you have the filler images as well that can be used with the main image or on their own, and then there's some beautiful sentiments. So I'm going to stamp the main image in black ink. Again, this is one of those stamp sets that you could use to watercolor, to Copic color, or just to fill in with the other stamps. This time I am going to use that outline image in black, not because I'm going to Copic color or watercolor, but because I just like the really strong impact of that black ink with the pink that I'm filling in here. So I am using those layered stamps. Again, they can be used on their own or to fill in this image just like this. And you can see they're very easy to line up because there's plenty of shape to the flowers that make it very simple to figure out where they go. So there are also some little leaves or like the base of the stem of the flowers that are also able to be layered on top. And then there's this stem that all of these flowers and buds are on. And the cool thing about that is that the stamp has a missing spot so that you don't ink onto the flower. There are some flower centers that I find easiest to just stamp with an acrylic block, and then I did use some purple tape to hold the die in place. I do want to show you how to stamp these just on their own because they really come out beautifully without even the outline image. And I can also die cut those too. The coordinating dies come with a die to cut out the main image, but they also come out with dies to cut out these individual flowers as well, which is really neat. So I am going to stamp the long sentiment that says, "You make the world a beautiful place," and I'm going to trim that down to a sentiment strip. I die cut another tiny tile cover die in white to layer over pink this time. I thought that was a really pretty and soft look as well. And then I'm going to pop up my main cherry blossom image right on top, and then place my "You Make the World a Beautiful Place" on some foam tape as well on top of that. I did want to share one more way to use the curved cover plate as well. Just because you cut all the pieces doesn't mean you have to use them all. They're really easy to line up on the bottom and the side. So I decided to use every other stripe in 3 different colors. So I'm basically having a white stripe in between the 2 colors. And that just has a totally different look as well. Of course, you could actually die cut the white cardstock and put it in between to make it easier on yourself to line them up. But I thought this was kind of neat because they have dimension. So I am going to curve that sentiment that we just used in the last card. So I'm basically putting it where I want it in my mini MISTI and then moving it to curve it little by little and then checking it to see if I got it right. That looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to stamp it in black ink, and that's going to stamp on the flat part of the card that is still white cardstock. And I thought that was a really fun way to use that stamp as well. These are the layered Lovelies. The fun thing about these, there's tons of them to choose from, and they are basically a 2-step flower. Super easy to line up, very forgiving. Like, I don't even know if I have this second layer in the right spot. As long as the little lines are over petals, you're good. So they are very simple and they come out so pretty. I just think they're so fun and just really playful. There's also layered lovely dies, so you can cut them all out and then pop them up. That's the nice thing when you're creating bouquets, to be able to have some of the flowers flat and some of them put on dimensional adhesive to create lots of layers of depth and dimension. Just added some enamel dots and that one is done as well. If you like the layered lovelies, then you need to check out a basically expanded size of one of the flowers there that's called Jumbo Layered Lovely. So you have the flower with the second step, and then you have some flower centers and some leaves. And then the matching dies, there's 4 of them. They cut out the flower and the 3 different leaves that are available. So I am going to put, again, this is very forgiving. I think this is where it goes. You might think otherwise, and it would be fine. Trust me, they come out super, super pretty no matter, as long as you have the lines on the leaves, no matter where you put them. Same thing with the leaves. You can tell really easily where to line up that second layer, and then you can use the dies to cut them out. This is really cool because it cuts out the center of the flower as well. I did go back to the tiny tile cover again. I love this so much. It's so pretty. It adds so much texture without overpowering the rest of your images or sentiments or anything else that you have going on. So this time, instead of using the iCraft, I did just want to share that these are pretty easy to adhere with liquid adhesive as well. Just if you have a good liquid adhesive that gives you a minute to move things around, which the Ultra Bond definitely does. It's not a super fast drying time. It gives you a second to slide things into place and make sure you have it straight before fully drying. I'm going to pop up the flower. You can see that it die cuts out the center, so don't stamp the center unless you're just doing it flat on the card and not going to die cut it out. And then I'm going to use the liquid adhesive while I have it out. I might as well, to adhere the leaves behind that flower. I'm just tucking them behind. And you can see the white on white with the tiny tile cover in the background is just a really pretty touch that again adds texture and interest without overpowering what we have going on in the front. So I just love these colors together. I think they're so fresh and perfect for spring and summer coming up as well, and just a really easy way with one big flower and a sentiment and a couple of leaves to make a really pretty high card. I'd love to hear what your favorite card or product from the stamp market was this month. Let me know in the comments below. If you love the stamp market as much as I do, be sure to check out last month's video over here. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Be sure to check out, it's over here, here, or here. Stopping by today. I don't know how to do the robot, so.